So today we'll be taking a look at the latest updates for Becky Lynch's WWE return, Keith Lee, Andrade, and more. For today's question of the day, what do you think is the more ideal landing spot for Becky Lynch's return, Raw or SmackDown? Let us know which one you think makes more sense. So let's take a look at the latest rumors surrounding everything with Becky Lynch. This summer has been and will continue to be filled with big returns for WWE. We've already seen so many returns and debuts over the last few weeks. We've seen John Cena, Goldberg, Shotzi, Knox, Keith Lee, and the list just goes on. The three that are left are Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Bray Wyatt. No one knows for sure when any of these big three will be back, but at least we have an idea for Sasha and Bray. Sasha is advertised for a handful of SmackDowns and live event shows leading up to SummerSlam, leading many to believe that Sasha's return could happen any day and possibly lead to a big title match at SummerSlam. Great news for Bray as well. He's being advertised for a few mid-August shows and heavily advertised for episodes of Raw in September, leading many fans to believe that Bray Wyatt could return just in time for SummerSlam as well. But when it comes to things with Becky Lynch related, there's no advertised appearances or anything like that, so it really leaves her return up as a complete mystery. Just a few weeks ago, it was reported that Becky Lynch would be a part of these big SummerSlam returns. Even the first few crowds back in WWE were heavily chanting for Becky Lynch and seemed ready for her to return. However, reports are starting to change their original words, with the Raw Women's title match already being set for SummerSlam and the SmackDown Women's title match at SummerSlam rumored to feature Bianca and Sasha. That sort of leaves Becky Lynch with nowhere to fit in on the SummerSlam card. So now, Becky's summer return seems like it's been pushed back, and everyone is now talking about a late 2021, possibly even early 2022 return if nothing really comes up for her. One report even said not to expect Becky Lynch before the WWE draft. The draft is always around the fall time, so that's what the word is now. We went from a possible summer return for Becky Lynch to now a fall return for Becky. Some fans believe that the women's division, more specifically Raw, is in desperate need for Becky right now just to shake things up. Raw has a fresh new champion with Nikki Ash, and it's great to see her as champion, but the direction they're taking Nikki in sort of makes it seem like her reign won't make it past SummerSlam, unfortunately. Nikki took on Charlotte in the main event of Raw, lost the match, and then the words they exchanged after the match made it seem like Nikki was the challenger and Charlotte was the champion. Nikki is talking about how she almost beat Charlotte and demands for a rematch against Charlotte again next week. And we get it, Nikki's character is probably going down that fighting champion direction, and that's fine, but what does she have to prove to Charlotte? You're the champion. Why are you chasing Charlotte and talking about how you almost beat her, as if Charlotte is the champion? So just a couple of strange lines that makes your Raw Women's Champion appear as if she's the upcoming challenger. So it's hard to tell what's going on there. But it'll be a triple threat match at SummerSlam. It's Nikki's first title defense. But telling by how things are going right now, chances are that Nikki won't be favored to retain her title at SummerSlam. Nikki will probably walk into that match with challenger sort of odds. We still have the rematch next week on Raw, but are they really gonna let Nikki pin Charlotte cleanly with no distractions? Yeah, probably not. WWE loves to have short Charlotte Flair title reigns, followed by Charlotte reclaiming the title right after that short reign. Everyone who was watching WWE back in 2016 knows that we saw a lot of short Charlotte reigns back then, followed by her winning the title back. So, do we see the same sort of thing with SummerSlam? Charlotte reclaims the title, boosts herself to 12 world title wins. That seems to be the most likely outcome for SummerSlam. Then maybe your door opens for a Becky Lynch return. You have Charlotte bragging about being champion. She probably ends the feud with Rhea and Nikki, and there's your opportunity for Becky to return and put Charlotte in her place. It already seems like Charlotte vs. Becky is being teased with the amount of shots that Charlotte takes towards Becky on Raw recently, so that makes sense. So for everyone really looking forward to Becky Lynch's return, It looks like fall is the new possible time frame for that to happen, but hopefully it's wrong and we get to see Becky return even sooner. We'll have to wait and see on that. Speaking of Charlotte Flair, Andrade, who recently left WWE for AEW, took to Twitter to post a picture of himself and Charlotte, with the captioning mentioning how they'll be together at ringside one day in the future. As usual, when it comes to a tweet like this, wrestling Twitter just exploded with speculation and discussion. If Andrade is saying that they will be in the ring together one day, that means either one of two things. Charlotte either goes to where Andrade is at, or he comes to where Charlotte is at. So fans were discussing this tweet, seeing what scenario seems more realistic. Does Charlotte one day go to AEW? Saying that just seems very crazy. It's hard to picture WWE ever letting Charlotte walk out to wrestle elsewhere. They clearly have a mission to get her past 16 titles right now, so it's nearly impossible to picture her leaving for AEW or anywhere else in that case. But can Andrade return to WWE eventually? Well, he didn't leave on terrible terms. He just requested his release and left quietly. But it just doesn't make sense to go back to WWE after you yourself requested a release. Everyone from WWE that went to AEW is there because they don't really want to deal with WWE. So it's hard to picture someone like Andrade going back to the place that they were so miserable at. So that's why Andrade's tweet was very confusing, because it's so hard to come up with a scenario for Charlotte and Andrade to be together in the same company again. How and where would they actually make this happen? But hopefully it's true. We never got to see Charlotte and Andrade together on screen. So hopefully there's a time in the future where it does actually happen. Keith Lee has just returned after a near 7-month hiatus, and only after week 2 of his return, it feels like all momentum has been lost. Keith Lee returned to face Lashley on Raw after Money in the Bank, and it was a great surprise. Many thought maybe Lee pins Lashley, starts to make a case to be a contender for the WWE title, and that sets up a great SummerSlam match between the two of them. And the opportunity to make that happen was right there, served on a platter. But instead, Keith Lee loses. Goldberg comes out, and everything just takes a step back instead of taking a step forward. Follow that up next week with Karrion Kross vs. Keith Lee on Raw. Fans were already heated before this match begun, and joked about no matter who lost the match, the fans were going to complain. And it's funny because it's right. Kross vs. Keith Lee in a match where both men shouldn't really be taking big losses right now. Kross is only on week 2 of his main roster debut. Lee is only on week 2 of his WWE return. So WWE really made a huge lose-lose scenario with this match. Keith Lee would end up losing the match, and now Keith Lee fans are just left throwing their hands up. Reports and rumors claim that Keith Lee is allegedly not exactly happy at all with all of that either. Keith Lee took to Twitter to confirm that he'll be telling the story of his 7-month absence real soon. So that'll be interesting to hear as well. But for now, a lot of fans are just left wondering, what was the purpose of Keith Lee's return? Why bring him back to go on this losing streak? We can't really hold the loss to Karrion Kross against Keith Lee that much, because that obviously wasn't the original plan. That match only happened because Jeff Hardy was sick. Reports also claim that if Hardy had been healthy, it would have been a rematch with Kross, where Hardy would have defeated Kross once again. So in a way, it's a great thing that Kross avoided that for the time being. But for Keith Lee, everyone just hopes things can get back on track for him. What are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.